Hi, my name is Gena Brodie Robbins. Oh my God. I am here today to talk to you about my art. So I work in a lot of different sizes. I paint very large scale, and I do paint in between. I am very comfortable working in acrylic with all types of different polymers, spray paint, mixing mediums together that are mainly water-based. Gotta lay the painting down and be able to get the top of it, you know?
Yeah.
This is the top. My poor floor. My floor is starting to merge with my canvas. It's a mess. I make a big mess in here. I do. I make a big mess. I will begin creating my works by either pouring color across my surface or spreading paint across my surface with a broom. I mean, I'll take the canvas and I'll throw it on the floor, and I'll take squeegees and sticks. I mean, you name it, mops, building up color fields. Repetitive mark began entering my work when I lost my father to cancer. He had just turned 60, and I knew that his days on this earth were, quite frankly, limited. So the first repeated marks to enter the picture plane were tally marks, which morphed into stitches. As the years passed, these marks evolved to larger, wider marks like open and closed circles, X's, and tally marks would enter the picture plane. I'd make them by scratching into the paint, spray painting them on the surface, drawing them over and over on top of the painting, erase that, repeat. Need to get a good load of paint in my brush. Now, there are many times I will begin creating my painting by putting the canvas up on the wall and just making exploratory mark in charcoal or graphite or simple painted black or gray washes. And these will start to begin to trigger something in me. One mark will cause me to create another mark. I'll work out compositional possibilities this way. Sometimes these marks will stay permanently in paint. I'll go back over it, and I'll go back over it with a wash of acrylic paint and water mixture or medium, and I'll smear and I'll drag some of this mark across the canvas, and it makes a really great gray and white or black and white kind of color field. And darks and lights will start to form, and then I'll go on top of this with more mark and more paint, maybe spray paint, or more black line. It could be it's just an exploratory phase. Beginning, when I first started painting, I learned how to mix color in acrylic and transition to oil. When in graduate school, I was pushed to develop further as an artist, investigating other mediums and studio processes. I became comfortable with experimenting and discovering how to mix media successfully. The figure emerges. It's always peeking through many layers of paint and mark. My figures range from human to animal. I have a tendency to cover up parts of my figures, even destroying them. At times, I'll attack the figure violently and then bring areas back, go over edges, or pull in the background into the figure, allowing it to merge. I'll add repetitive mark on top a lot of times as well. In 2018, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune neuromuscular disorder called Myasthenia Gravis. It was causing muscle weakness in my face and in my arms and legs and also my lungs. It was very scary, and I was really worried that it was going to keep me from painting. My diagnosis and symptoms began to affect my outlook on life, my positivity. I noticed I was pretty down and needed to spend more time with my animals and go outside and try painting outdoors. So I did a lot of plein air painting and did a lot of walking when I could to try to lift my spirits. And then my mother died suddenly, and I suffered additional personal losses that were just very traumatic for me. I realized then just how much my art was a type of therapy and was really getting me through those tough times. My husband also was, of course, there and very supportive. I don't know what I would have done without him, but I dove in to my art, and I started painting even more vigorously and investigated deeper into my figurative painting. My works are mainly abstract figurative in nature. They are provocative, quite bold, colorful, and expressive, reflecting the many facets of the human condition, such as loss and longing, isolation, identity, illness, resilience, and hope. You can see where parts of my figures are distorted or wiped out. And it's this action that is emblematic of the ephemeral or fleeting aspects of memory and the disappearing of the self due to illness, loss, or change and impermanence. When I lost my father and mother, it felt as if I had lost part of myself. And now, with the daily struggles of chronic illness and age, I feel and observe my own mortality and the eroding effects of time. I find myself putting on a brave face, and it's been, in a sense, my protection, my mask, so to speak, while inevitably facing contemplations of my own identity, who I am now versus who I was years ago. You know, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness, and I just continue to look in the mirror sometimes and wonder who in the world that is. Regardless of the so-called meaning of the old me, there is the acceptance of the me now. I've begun to transition and embrace who I have become, and rather observant of the changes to my own face due to my age and my muscle weakness. This in turn has caused me to develop a series of 35 12 by 12 inch works on panel titled the Resting Bitch Face series. Gestural line drawings of the iconic women of old Hollywood, royalty, politics, etc., grace the surfaces of this body of smaller works, disappearing and reappearing. They are partially wiped away, smeared, redrawn, and emphasized, a symbolic parallel to the wiping away of their true identity, the facade projected to the public, and desensitization that seems to happen. Many of the women of old Hollywood played the femme fatale, the good girl or funny girl, restricted or imprisoned to the same type of character role. So yeah, here are a few of my Resting Bitch Face series. And you can see here, I have one. This is Elizabeth Taylor. And she's been a little bit destroyed. Poor thing. I'm not going to tell you who this resting bitch face is. Can you guess? No, it's not me. She's getting there. Each iconic face, such as Ava Gardner, Marlene Dietrich, and Vivian Leigh, peers through a veil of repeated patterns spray-painted or drawn on the surface, similar to the dots that form an image on the older TV screens or the bin-day printing process of colored dots that make up the images of newspaper and magazines produced and repeated over and over again. Many of us, due to the pandemic, are or have been for the past year or so living in our own sets, similar to a television show or play that is limited to the living room, kitchen, bedroom, or grocery store, and given minimal control with unknown and changing constraints. Quite similar to the women in the Bitch Face series. Working on my current body of work requires tremendous physical and emotional energy, causing me to paint laying down on the floor at times when my fatigue will simply not allow me to stand. Each one of my works for this show is a chapter in my own journey through chronic illness, acceptance of my own new normal, and the realities of the pandemic, compiled with complicated grief, faith, inner strength, and transformation, giving me a newfound perspective on existence and personal self-worth.